Okay, so let's take a look at 4i. This is 4i, right? Yeah, number 3. Um, so this goes back to the previous homework assignment. And what I've done is I've already filled in some of it for you. You had this triangle here, ABC, and then you had to find the equations of two of the medians. So AN, N is the midpoint here, and AM, where M is the midpoint of this side, AB. And it turns out that two of the equations you could have come up with for those medians are down here. And I've already given you these two equations. There are other versions as well, but if you graph them, it's actually the same line, even though the equations look different. But so we already learned if you graph all three medians, you can find this centroid point by just averaging the coordinates of the corners. But I want to be able to do this using the equations themselves and your graphing calculators. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to graph this line right here, although the calculator won't know that it ends, so it'll graph the whole line. And then we're going to graph this line right here. Because we have their equations, we'll graph them on the calculator, and then we'll tell the calculator to find that point right there. So the way we're going to do it is the first step is we got to write the equations so they're in y equals form. The calculator can't handle y minus 7 equals some junk. So we got to get y by itself. So the first equation, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add 7 to the other side. So I'll add 7 to both sides, which will get rid of the minus 7. So the first equation will be y equals negative 1/9 x minus 2, and then plus 7. Now I'm not going to simplify, because the calculator doesn't care if I simplify or not. Then the other equation, if I get y by itself, it's 7/9 x minus 5, and then we're going to add 4 to both sides to get the 4 over here instead. So there are my two equations in y equals form. Now I'm going to go to my calculator. So, and then these are step-by-step instructions here. So here's the calculator, right there. Oh, put it over here. I'll shrink this one down just a little bit. Nope, it didn't shrink. And let me make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to hit the y equals button right here. That's this one. And notice there are all these places to enter in these y equals equations. So I'm going to enter in this one as my y1 right there, and then this one as my y2 right here. And when I hit the x, you could go alpha x every single time, but this button right next to the alpha button is actually a shortcut for x. You can kind of see if I just keep hitting it, more x's appear. Okay. By the way, another thing is if any of these happen to be highlighted like that, you're going to have to turn them off first. So you're going to have to go back up there, hit enter, make sure none of them are highlighted or else this thing won't graph right. Okay, so one of the equations is negative. So this button, 1/9, and I'll do 1 divided by 9. If you prefer the fraction symbol, you could do negative and then alpha f1 numerator over denominator. So then it'd be 1/9. And then parentheses x minus 2, and then plus 7. And then the other one's 7 divided by 9. I'm just going to do regular 7 over 9. 7 divided by 9. And then x minus 5, close parentheses, plus 4. Okay, so I've entered in the two equations. Once both equations are entered in, press the graph button on the top right here. So there's one of my lines. There's the other line. If I scroll back up here, this line right here, this line right here is this line. And this other one right here is the one going up there. Now my window's not the same. Like notice this is mainly just the first quadrant and it goes all the way out to like 15, 16. This is negative 10 to 10 and negative 10 to 10. So it's not the same size window. But we can see the intersection points right there. Okay. So we should now be looking at a graph of the two medians, if they kept going. Our goal is to find the intersection point. So to do this on the calculator, we need something called the calculate menu. which if you notice, it's in blue right here, calc. So in order to get there, because it's in blue, I have to hit the second button first, the blue button, and then this trace button, which is really now the calc button. And then I'm going to choose intersect. So that's option 5. So you can either hit 5 or you can just scroll down to it and hit enter. Then it's going to ask 3 questions. First curve, second curve, guess. What it's really asking is which 2 lines or curves do you want it to look at? Because sometimes you've graphed like 4 lines or something like that, and it can only do 2 at a time. So if so notice the cursor is already right here. It's already on one of the lines. To mark a line, you just hit enter. So I've marked the first line. It knows that this is one of the lines to look at. Second curve, well, it's already on the other line, so I'm just going to hit enter. So now it knows, look at this line and this line. Now it says guess. Guess helps the calculator figure out where to look around first. So I'm going to move my cursor over to here and then hit enter because that's pretty close to where the actual intersection is. So left and right moves the cursor. So that's pretty close. I'll hit enter. And then it actually tells you what the intersection point is. So the intersection point is 8, 6.3 repeating. Now there are times that, so the calculator is using these estimation tricks. So there are times that you might get an answer like 7.999999998. And you just kind of have to know, okay, well, it's using estimation. That's probably 8, really. Okay. So that's it. That's how this works. There will be some problems coming up that ask you to find intersection points, and you can always refer back to these directions to help you figure it out. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys soon. Oops. I'm going to turn this off.